The corpse that defeated Hitler's army. Imagine standing inside a sealed underground war room in Berlin in 1943. The air is heavy. Cigarette smoke clings to the ceiling. Maps of Europe cover the walls like open wounds. Far away, bombs fall. But inside this room, there is only silence. At the center of it all stands Adolf Hitler, the most feared man on earth, staring at a document in his hands. The paper is torn, damp, and stained with seawater. This message did not come from a living spy. It was not smuggled across borders or whispered in the shadows. This message came from a corpse. A British officer's body had washed up on the shores of Spain. Strapped to his wrist was a briefcase containing secret military documents. In that moment, Hitler believed he had uncovered the greatest Allied secret of World War II. What he did not know was that he was swallowing the most brilliant deception in the history of warfare. A deception so perfect that it would move armies, drain defenses, and help decide the fate of Europe. And the weapon used to do it was not a tank, not a plane, not a gun, but a dead man. By 1943, the war had reached a critical turning point. The Allies had driven Axis forces out of North Africa. The next step was inevitable, Europe. But Europe was no open door. It was a fortress. Every possible invasion route had been analyzed, and all of them pointed to the same place, Sicily, a small island but strategically priceless. Whoever controlled Sicily controlled the Mediterranean. Winston Churchill called it the soft underbelly of Europe. Unfortunately, Hitler knew this too. German intelligence expected an invasion of Sicily, so Hitler turned the island into a nightmare. Hundreds of thousands of troops, heavy artillery, elite panzer divisions. Any direct assault would be catastrophic. Allied generals knew that invading Sicily without weakening German defenses first would be suicide. The problem was simple and terrifying. How do you convince your enemy to defend the wrong place? The answer could not be conventional. Radio deception had been tried. Fake troop movements were expected. Spies were watched closely. The Germans had learned to distrust anything that looked obvious. So British intelligence needed something the enemy would never question, something that looked real because it was real. And that was when a dangerous idea took shape. What if the enemy discovered authentic military documents by accident? What if those documents were found on a body pulled from the sea? Inside British naval intelligence, two men took this impossible idea seriously. Ewan Montagu and Charles Cholmondeley were not reckless dreamers. They were meticulous planners who understood one brutal truth. If this deception failed, tens of thousands of Allied soldiers would die. Their plan required absolute perfection. Every detail had to survive scrutiny by the German intelligence service, the Abwehr. One flaw would expose the lie. The first challenge was the hardest. They needed a body. Not a murdered man, not a soldier killed in action, a body whose death could plausibly be explained as an accident at sea. After weeks of searching hospitals and morgues, they found him. Glyndŵr Michael, 34 years old, a homeless Welshman who had died after ingesting rat poison. He had no family. No one would ask questions. More importantly, his cause of death could resemble drowning. Glyndŵr Michael died once in obscurity, but the second time he died, he would become one of the most effective weapons of the war. His body was placed in cold storage while intelligence officers began the most delicate operation of all, creating a life. Not a name, a life. His new identity was Major William Martin of the Royal Marines. Every detail mattered. He was dressed in worn, military clothing. His boots were scuffed. His pockets were filled carefully, not with obvious props, but with the clutter of a real human being. In his wallet were personal items designed to convince even the most suspicious investigator. A photograph of a young woman named Pam, love letters written in emotional, imperfect language, a receipt for an engagement ring he had not yet paid off. Movie ticket stubs, a letter from his father scolding him for spending too much money. These were not decorations. They were psychological armor. German intelligence officers were trained to distrust perfection. Real people are messy, so William Martin had to be messy too. Then came the documents. These could not be crude forgeries. They had to feel accidental. Private correspondence between senior Allied officers, casual mentions, half jokes, subtle hints. The letters suggested that Sicily was merely a diversion. The real targets, they implied, were Greece and Sardinia. The language was careful. Nothing dramatic, nothing obvious. Exactly the kind of thing an enemy would believe was never meant for them. Now came the point of no return. On April 19, 1943, a British submarine, HMS Seraph, left port carrying a sealed canister. Inside was the body of Major William Martin. Most of the crew believed they were transporting weather equipment. Only the captain knew the truth. In the darkness before dawn, near the coast of Spain, the body was brought on deck. A life jacket was fitted. The briefcase was chained to his wrist. A short prayer was spoken, and then the corpse was slid into the sea. For a long moment, nothing happened. The water closed, the submarine disappeared, and the fate of the operation was left to chance. Would the body wash ashore? Would it be found by the right people? Would the documents survive? Or would the sea erase everything? Days later, Spanish fishermen discovered the body. Spanish authorities recovered it and examined the contents. Spain was officially neutral, but sympathetic to Germany. British intelligence counted on this. They even staged panic, sending urgent diplomatic messages demanding the immediate return of the briefcase, unopened. This performance was crucial. It signaled that the documents were important, and it worked. The papers were photographed and quietly passed to German intelligence. Soon, copies were on Hitler's desk. Some German officers were cautious. Field Marshal Rommel had doubts, but Hitler was convinced. The documents confirmed what he already suspected, that Sicily was a trap. Furious and confident, he ordered massive troop movements. Elite units were withdrawn from Italy and sent to Greece. Aircraft were repositioned. Defenses were strengthened in the wrong places. Sicily was left dangerously exposed. In July 1943, Allied ships appeared off the coast of Sicily. Hitler dismissed it as a feint. He was certain the real invasion would come elsewhere, but it never did. The landings were real, and within 38 days, Sicily fell. Allied casualties were far lower than expected. The road into Europe was open. The corpse had done its job. Glyndwr Michael was buried in Spain under the name Major William Martin. A headstone marked him as a Royal Marine who died for his country. He never knew the war he helped win, he never heard the applause, but his silence moved armies and saved countless lives. This is why war is not only fought with bullets and bombs, it is fought with belief, with psychology, with stories so convincing that even dictators trust them. A single dead man, armed with nothing but paper and careful planning, defeated part of Hitler's army without firing a single shot. Sometimes the most powerful weapon in history is not force, but deception.